Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I am going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, write a Java program which results in SQL exception. Let me answer. In Java programs, you will get this SQL exception when you are trying to connect to the database via JDBC, etc. And if you give the details which are incorrect, for example, fake username, fake password, or some fake DB, or invalid details when you enter into this get connection command of driver manager, which will help you in connecting to the database actually in original. Okay, in such kind of cases, this statement driver manager dot get connection of JDBC statement having the invalid details will give you an SQL or SQL exception. So let me practically demonstrate and show you how can we get this SQL exception. So for that, I'll switch to the Eclipse IDE, and here I'm going to create a new class. I'll just name this class as class, give some random name, let's say class 21. With main method, I'm going to create. Now here, in order to connect to a database from the Java programs, in order to make the Java program connect to the database, let's say MySQL, etc. So we have to write this code, driver manager. We have to write this, okay, dot get connection, driver manager dot get connection. You have to write like this, okay. So put a semicolon here, pour the mouse on this, and you see there is a possibility of SQL exception here from Java. If you don't give the details properly here, the get connection the connection will not be successful, and as a result, this particular statement is going to give you SQL exception. Okay, if the connection is not established, you are going to get SQL exception. It's a checked exception category, guys. There are two suggestions in the compiler is also already suggesting that there's a possibility of SQL exception in this particular statement if the connection is not successful. So either you have to ignore the exception or surround with try catch block. What if the connection is not successful and you want to handle the exception? You can go with try catch block. But here, the interview question is all about we have to get the kind of exception in the output. Okay, when I run this code, I have to get this SQL exception in the output. For that case, I'll ignore the exception and try to provide the details here, which will result in that SQL exception. Okay, fine. Here, provide double quotes and type JDBC Java database connection. Okay, JDBC. Okay, like this, you give the details, and you have to type like this. Okay, JDBC colon MySQL and local host details, and then slash name of the database. Okay, we have to write those details here. JDBC colon MySQL. Okay, MySQL JDBC colon MySQL colon double forward slash localhost colon 3306 slash give the name of the database. You can give any database, let's say a database which doesn't exist. Okay, I want here we are not trying to connect to the database really. We are going to give the details of the database which doesn't exist. Okay, non-existent DB. Okay, some DB which is not there. Okay, so some database which is not available. Okay, non-existent DB. And here we have to give the username and password, guys. Here I'll give the username and password here. So invalid username, the DB doesn't exist, and whether you give user 123, some random username 123 password. Okay, just give some details, guys. Don't worry whether you are giving proper. If you have to worry here if you are giving the proper details. I am intentionally giving improper details so that this particular line should not get us connected to JDBC. So if you give the valid details here, like a valid database name and valid database name and valid username, valid password, then the connection will be established, right? But in this case, the details are not right. They are invalid DB details, non-existing DB, some invalid username, invalid password I am giving, and this get connection will return you the object reference of the connection. So write down connection is equal to connection is equal to. Now hold the mouse on this connection and import this connection from Java library, from java.sql package. Your driver manager is also coming from java.sql. All this connection, driver manager, SQL exception are coming from SQL package of the Java, because they help you to connect to the database. Okay, from the Java programs, if you want to connect to the database via JDBC, Java database connectivity, we have to do that. And the name of the database, DBMS software type, then localhost, where this DB is existing. Okay, localhost of the database where the DB is existing. Okay. Then we have to give the username and password to connect to that DBMS software. Okay. DBMS software to connect to that database. Finally, that all this information that I have given here in the get connection is completely wrong, guys. Okay, it's completely wrong. Okay, this information is completely wrong, guys. So whatever you do will not happen anyhow. So in this line itself, in the line 11 itself, you're going to get an exception because the given details, DB details or username and password details to connect to this MySQL DBMS software, everything is wrong, guys. Okay. So in that case, if I run the code here in the output, you are going to get SQL exception. No suitable driver found for JDBC, and this particular database doesn't exist. Hence, you got a SQL exception. If you have provided the proper details, then you would not have got the SQL exception. But if you have provided this DB details in a wrong way, okay, then the connection will not get established. In the result, we are going to get SQL exception. Okay, then we are going to get SQL exception. So hope guys you understood the Java program, how to write a sample Java program which results in SQL exception in this session as a part of the answer for this interview question. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye bye.